Alright, so we're going to talk about 1-point perspective. This is called the horizon line. So if you're looking off into the distance and you see where the land meets the sky, that would be the horizon line. And then along my horizon line, I'm going to create my vanishing point. So this is the point in which all of my point, everything that I'm drawing is going to converge onto this one point. And it's important to make sure that you are using only that one point and that you are always referring to that one point. Otherwise, whatever it is you're making is going to look wonky. So I'm going to start with just some simple stuff. I'm going to start with something above the horizon line. So if we're pretending that this is the real world, this would be where like trees would go, and then up here is where you'd see the sun and clouds and all that good stuff. So I'm going to work on a letter because one of the options for you is going to be a project where you create letters. So I'm just going to box it off here. I suggest doing that for people who aren't very good at making black letters. If you just kind of put it into a box, a lot of times it's easier. You don't have to do it that way. You can do it however you want. Alright, so I've got my Y here, and it is above my vanishing point. So what I have to do now is I need to draw what are called my orthogonal lines. Orthogonal lines are lines that go from the corner to the vanishing point. Okay, so I'll show you a couple of those. So I make sure that I line my ruler up to that corner and then also to my vanishing point. And I'm going to draw the line all the way to the vanishing point just to show you when you're working on your project you don't have to do that. So this would be considered a corner. So we're going to take that and bring it to the vanishing point as well. And then here's another one. All right, now if we start to look at the other side, that's when complications start to happen. So if we look at this corner right here, and we match it up, this one should be fine. But what about here? It goes into the letter. We don't want our letter to look as though it's see-through. I mean, you could if you really wanted to, but I'm not going to. So if that's the case, I don't need to draw this line if it goes back into the letter because the letter is solid in my drawing. So I'm just going to kind of shade that in to further that point. This is solid. So if you pick a point and to get it to your vanishing point, it would go through the letter, then you don't have to draw it. So that would be the same for here too, because here's my point. If I even just eyeball it to my vanishing point, it goes right into the letter. But then we have this, so let's see what this does. Sometimes it's really close, and you just kind of have to make a judgment call. Let's see. Okay, that wasn't too bad. So now I have all of my lines drawn, my orthogonal lines. So these are the orthogonal lines, the lines that go from your subject to your vanishing point. Now to finish this off, what I need to do is I need to close off my letter Y. And in order to do that, what you need to do is create a parallel line. So whatever angle this line is at, I always call it the front line, you need to match it with your back line. So I could do it, I could just eyeball it, or if you want to be more precise, you can take your ruler, line it up against that line, and then back it up. And I could decide that I wanted my Y to appear longer if I wanted, and I could have this line back here if I wanted, or wherever. I don't want it to look too thick, so I'm going to keep it where it's at. And then this one here is pretty much vertical, so I can either eyeball that. So this is my front line, and my back line needs to be parallel, which if you remember from math class, parallel lines are two lines that go off into the wilderness and they never intersect, so they never crisscross. So this line and this line should go off into infinity and never touch. So for this one, it's going to be the same thing, but back here by the corner. This is kind of one I might, I'm going to go back and actually be a little more precise with that, because if you get it weird, you can really tell, especially with these bottom and top ones. And I lined it up to that corner. Lastly, I need to do that for right here, so I decide wherever I want my Y to end. So now we have it in 1 point perspective, and I'm going to erase my excess. And there we go. There is my letter Y in 1 point perspective. So notice, if this is up in the sky, notice that we can see the bottom of it. So if you're working above your horizon line and you're having whatever it is that you're making above your horizon line, you're going to see the bottom of it. Now if you go below your horizon line, then for the most part you'll see the top of it. So let's try that out. So I'm going to do a really big letter, I don't know, T, I guess. We'll still keep it simple. Alright, so I've got my letter, I boxed it off. If I wanted to get more crazy with it, I could, but for now I'm not going to. And now let's start looking at our corners. So these are our corners. Those are the ones we need to check. So we're going to bring our corners to our vanishing point and draw our orthogonal. There's two orthogonals. What about this one? I don't have to check it because I've done this a million times, but for your purposes, it goes right back into the letter. And again, we said that the letter was solid, so we're not going to do anything with that. Now, if you're a person where you want it to look see-through, let me know. I can show you how to do it. It does get a little more complex. All right, so we'll check here. And here, this would go right back into the letter. So we leave that alone. We check that one. That one we wouldn't see because it goes into the letter. And then this one, let's see. Now I always make sure that I line my ruler up to my vanishing point and to that corner, and try to make sure it doesn't wiggle around on you too much. Alright, so now I have my orthogonals taken care of. So now I need to make my front lines parallel to my back lines. So again, this is my front line, and so my back line, let's make this one a lot bigger. My back line needs to be parallel. So my front line, this is my front line, my back line needs to be parallel. So if you just scoot your ruler, a lot of times that's gonna make it a lot more accurate than if you try to eyeball it. Front line's here, and then I move it to about here, because I do know it goes in from the letter T, so it wouldn't be all the way up here. Alright, so now that's done. I'm going to erase the excess, which again, once you get the hang of this, you don't have to draw these lines all the way to the vanishing point. And now you have what looks like a super long letter T. Alright, I'm going to stop this one, and then I will start again with another video teaching you curves.